Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Tales of Herding Gods based on novel. So let's start. Great ruins, disabled elderly village. Village chief was still sitting on the recliner along with Apothecary as usual, drinking their tea slowly. Suddenly Apothecary turned his body and asked, "Village chief, haven't you sat here for quite some time? It seems like you have been paralyzed here for the past 2 days and didn't even move when the darkness invaded. You didn't return to your room to sleep? When I woke up this morning, I've already seen you lying here." Village chief squinted his eyes lazily and said, "Apothecary, your heart is in disorder. After Mu left, your heart fell into disorder." Apothecary laughed grimly. "My heart is in disorder? It's clearly your heart that's in disorder. Look at me washing up and grooming myself every day, unlike you with your messy appearance. The only difference is that you have yet died on the recliner." Village chief said, "It was clearly you who had moved me to the village entrance yesterday morning and forget to bring me back in when night fell. Isn't that because your heart in disorder? To suddenly forget something you did every day?" Apothecary smiled from extreme anger. "If I had forgotten to bring you back in, can't you walk back by yourself? Don't you know how to fly back? What's the use of your exceptionally talented cultivation for?" Village chief fell silent for a moment before saying sadly, "You know that I have no legs, nor arms." Apothecary was almost driven mad. This damned old man actually didn't die from the curse and monsters in the darkness after being left out yesterday night, and he actually still had the face to say he had no legs. He was about to argue strongly for what was right when he suddenly raised his head. Village chief also perked up and smiled energetically. "Friends from afar, isn't that a joy? Dao friend, you are relaxed." An old and a young man came up from surging rivers downstream and came walking towards the village. Village chief looked at Apothecary and immediately said, "Where's your comb? Stop hiding it. I know you always have a comb on you, it's in your chest. Quickly take it out. I haven't washed up for 2 days, how can I meet the guests like this?" Apothecary gave a sneer and remained unmoved. Village chief laughed. "I'm the one who was lazy to move for the past 2 days, it's my fault." Apothecary passed the comb to him and village chief used his vital chi to control the comb, combing his hair and tidying himself up. The young patriarch and elder of discipline walked over and stopped in to greet. Village chief smiled. "Disabled person is unable to return your greeting, please forgive me. Please take a seat." Apothecary, "Watch the tea." The young patriarch sat down and gave a smile as he looked at elder of discipline who was standing beside him. "I'm no longer the patriarch of the sacred cult, there's no need for so many rules, sit together." Elder of discipline also sat down and placed the bamboo basket on his back at one side. Apothecary brought over the tea set and boiled a new pot of water. Putting in the tea leaves, he let it simmer for a moment before pouring tea for both people. Apothecary has the southern way of drinking tea. The young patriarch smiled. Apothecary smiled. "I was born in the south, therefore I'm used to the southern way of drinking. The northern tea is used to seeing the tea leaves bobbing up and down, while the southern tea reflects the heart of people with its clear bottom. Both have their own good points." The young patriarch smiled. "No wonder the both of you oftenly sit here." "Village chief, I've come to impose for a few days, are you okay with that?" Before village chief could say anything, Apothecary clapped his hands and smiled. "Great, simply great. After Mu left, this old man has almost bored me to death, sitting here like a paralyzed every day, not moving or talking." Village chief gave him a stare and said to the young patriarch, "Now that you're at your leisure, it's also pleasant to stay here for a few days to clear your mind." The young patriarch said, "I admire Dao brother very much. For the sacred cult master to be groomed by all of you, he is really outstanding and extraordinary, therefore I came to consult." The sacred cult master was a natural-born overlord body and cultivates overlord body 3 elixir technique, resulting in a body of extraordinary abilities. My knowledge is lacking and didn't know that such a thing called overlord body in this world. It just so happens that I can consult Dao brother during these few days. Overlord body. Village chief and Apothecary looked at each other in the eyes and suddenly burst out into laughter. The two old men weren't young anymore, and they laughed with their mouths wide open and tears streaming down their faces, gasping for their breaths. Overlord body. Pua ha ha ha. Village chief rolled off from the recliner from laughing, while Apothecary dropped to the ground and smacked his fists on the ground, unable to get up. The young patriarch and elder of discipline were befuddled by their laughter, and elder of discipline grew apprehensive as he thought to himself, how bored are these two people usually? There was clearly nothing to laugh about, yet they are gasping for their breaths from laughing. Will patriarch and I become crazy like them if we stay here for long? Village chief paused for a moment and laid on the ground to catch his breath. Apothecary pointed at the young patriarch and laughed, we even fooled the devil cult's patriarch. Ha 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 ha. Village chief broke out into a crazy laughter again, while Apothecary smacked the ground again. After some time, village chief floated back onto the recliner while his vital chi combed his messy hair. Apothecary walked slightly further and smacked the dust off his body before going to wash his face. He then took out another comb from his chest and tidied himself up before coming up to sit down properly to apologize. Dao brothers, there are only the two of us left in the village and we are almost bored to death. Even the hen dragon has gone out to fool around with a male and gave birth to a coop of small hen dragons. It's rare for someone to tell us a joke, therefore, we lost our composure. The young patriarch looked behind them and saw a hen dragon that was as tall as a human bringing a bunch of small hen dragons strolling around in the village. That hen dragon raised a gale as she flapped her wings. What's Overlord body all about? The young patriarch consulted humbly, may I request both of you to be generous in your teachings? My scope is indeed a little shallow. Say no more. Village chief held back his laughter, I'll tell you. After a moment, the young patriarch and elder of discipline were flabbergasted when they knew the truth. It was like they got struck by the thunder from the heavens 100 times before getting stampeded 100 times by a herd of reckless bulls, unable to return to their senses for quite a long time. The strongest Overlord body was actually the body of an ordinary person, and the strongest Overlord body 3 elixir technique was actually Daoyin technique that the most ordinary of the ordinary people used to strengthen their bodies. Yet Qin Mu had actually managed to cultivate this technique and thought that he was the Overlord body. This was yet the crucial point. The most crucial point was that Qin Mu, who had absolutely believed it, had used an ordinary body and Daoyin technique to beat up all the other talents and geniuses and made them piss their pants in terror, which was remarkably like a true Overlord body. Village chief and Apothecary were very pleased with themselves as they looked at each other. Village chief whispered, look at their expressions, exactly like what I have expected. The young patriarch let out a murky breath and had a queer expression, so I see. However, there are indeed some problems with Overlord Body 3 Elixir Technique. It's very extraordinary. Overlord Body 3 Elixir Technique may be the Daoyin technique which could be commonly seen, but it indeed has some issues. However, for people who can cultivate this technique to Mua's extent is rare among rare. I can absolutely say that there's only Mua. Village chief said with a resolute expression, at least I have not seen any before. I suspect that this technique is a technique before Great Ruins, which should be not bad, and it was passed down and became the most ordinary Daoyin technique. But I'm not sure about it. Who would have thought that this technique would be cultivated by someone one day? The young patriarch's gaze flickered, or we can say that before Great Ruins turned into Great Ruins, ordinary people could also cultivate, and this Overlord Body 3 Elixir technique was the cultivation method of those ordinary people. However, because of a great unforeseen event, it resulted in ordinary people unable to cultivate. The 4 great spirit bodies appeared after that and become the mainstream now. Apothecary's heart moved slightly and asked, if ordinary people can't cultivate, how was Mua able to cultivate? We can't just say that it was through his hard work. There are definitely people who are more hardworking in this world than him. It also can't be justified that it was because he had used up 100 more times of resources compared to other ordinary people. There might be people who are willing to spend a huge amount of resources to awaken a mortal body. In that case, there must be something he has different from other normal people. Village chief's heart leaped and said, maybe he was an ordinary people before the Great Ruins turned into Great Ruins. The 3 of them looked at each other in the eyes and every one of them agreed to this idea. The young patriarch asked, in that case, where did he, this ordinary person before the calamity, come from? Village chief and apothecary replied in unison, "Carefree village." When they had said it, they both looked at each other in the eyes with their hearts shaking. Only Elder of Discipline's brain did not react as fast as theirs and was still puzzled, unable to take part in the conversation. "I feel that my thoughts can't catch up to theirs." Elder of Discipline had a feeling of being left out. "Carefree village?" The young patriarch's heart moved slightly and asked, "May I ask where is this carefree village?" Village chief gave a smiled, "No idea. But if Dao friend is interested, we can go out of the village tonight to search for it." "Out of the village?" The young patriarch turned his head and looked at the vast great ruins. His heart suddenly felt a little tense and also had a little anticipation. He had come to the correct place. He thought to himself secretly. It had been a while since he had felt such an excitement. The old scoundrels of disabled elderly village had once again made him feel the adventure and impulse he had during his youth period. Two old men and each had one foot in the grave, along with another old man, and an old and yet not old apothecary shall explore the depths of the mysterious great ruins, at night, made him excited just thinking of it. Saint Arrival Mountain. Qin Mu instructed, "Linger, even though this mountain is the sacred ground of our heavenly saint cult, it's also my first time here, therefore I have no idea which areas are dangerous. Don't run around and wait for me to succeed in cultivating this teleportation method on the wall, then I'll bring you out." Hu Linger acknowledged and turned around to run out of this palace hall. Qin Mu sat down in front of the wall and carefully studied the teleportation method on the wall. The teleportation method on this wall was a way to refine treasure, and the runes, formations, divine arts within were all unable to be used on their own. They must be used to create the treasure, and only then could it activate the teleportation effect. This was the reason why most of the higher-ups had created teleportation flags and teleportation clothing. When the teleportation flag was unfurled, everything that the teleportation flag covered could be teleported away, being able to bring along many people. Whereas when teleportation clothing covered one's body, one could be brought away. Qin Mu carefully comprehended the marvel of the teleportation method. After one day, he finally comprehended the teleportation method on the wall, yet he started to calculate in his heart. Heavenly Devil Cult's teleportation method relied on runes to activate the formation and the formation to activate the divine art. Because it was too complicated, it was very difficult for divine arts to execute out directly, therefore they had to refine it into a treasure to be used for teleportation. If he could directly execute the divine art, he could also achieve the result of teleportation, which would definitely be more nimble than using teleportation flags or teleportation clothing. Furthermore, after Qin Mu had comprehended for so long, he had discovered that the teleportation method actually required a more superior calculation technique. Only with higher cultivation in the method of calculation could he master the teleportation divine art even faster. "I need an even superior algebra record." Teleportation divine art was actually a divine art constructed by algebra. The difference in direction, place, distance, and space needed one to calculate the order and rules of the runes. Every established teleportation point required a huge amount of mathematical operation. Two words: mathematical operation. What was the operation? Operation meant the sequence, evolution, change, rules of the rune formation. With evolution in the sequence of the rune formation to change the rules, only then could he have a calculation. By refining the teleportation divine art into a treasure, it was to rely on the runes and formation changes imprinted on the treasure to push the calculation, which was thousands of times more complicated than using the beads of an abacus. It could be seen as a large-scaled abacus that was strangely constructed. If he wanted to execute this divine art by himself, he would have to be able to adjust the calculation anytime and anywhere, finding out the marvel of teleportation through the complicated runes. With only 10 computation cannons, it was impossible for him to deduce such a complicated operation formula. Therefore Qin Mu felt that he needed an even more superior algebra record, and only then could he completely learn the teleportation divine art. Profound computation should be taught in Imperial College's Hall of Array Element. Hall of Array Element teaches formation skills, therefore, they definitely have to use the operation of algebra. Maybe Dao Sect also has such a computation and might be even superior. Qin Mu suddenly remembered Daozi Lin Xian. When Daozi Lin Xian executed a dot threading the vast movements, yin and yang come and go within two modes, he had used an extremely complicated algebra operation method. Yin and yang come and go within two modes required an extremely large amount of algebra operation, and without a strong mathematical operation ability, it was very difficult for him to calculate the changes in the moves and calculate out the exact location of Qin Mu's weakness. Without a profound computation, it's impossible for me to learn the teleportation divine art now. Now I only know what is done but not why it is done. I should first refine out a treasure of teleportation. Qin Mu put his heart down and focused on refining the treasure. No matter whether he refined a teleportation flag or a teleportation clothing, he would need cloth. Now he had only one set of brocaded clothes now, he could only make do with it. Meanwhile, using his brocaded clothes made from 6 wings golden natural silk to refine out a teleportation clothing, he would need to pull out some threads. After taking out a few threads of golden natural silk, he used the golden natural silk to sew the formation on the clothes and used his vital chi to mark the runes. He had learned to tailor from Granny Sai since young, therefore, he had some experience with embroidery. This wasn't difficult for him. Say, do you think the sacred cult master can rely on his own strength to leave Saint Arrival Mountain? The 3 cult heavenly kings had yet to leave Saint Arrival Mountain to prevent Qin Mu from being trapped here. The 3 elders looked at Hall of Floating Light, and Heavenly King Lu stroked the mountain goat-like beard on his chin. Refining a treasure of teleportation is that simple. The teleportation method of our sacred cult could be said a divine art that causes the most headache for everyone. Heavenly King Yu nodded his head in deep agreement. The art of teleportation needs a high requirement for algebra, and it's difficult to learn it without being proficient in algebra. The sacred cult master is still quite young and shouldn't have much attainments in algebra. Let him comprehend it for a few days. Without knowing the difficulty, he won't know how to progress. Knowing the difficulty and progressing is then the heart that seeks knowledge. Heavenly King Sha was the most earnest. The sacred cult master experienced 2 little setbacks and came to the position of the sacred cult master easily. Without sharpening him on the grindstone, it would be hard for him to grow. This was also Patriarch's idea. The other 2 cult heavenly kings nodded their heads repeatedly. Do we need to create some setbacks to sharpen him? There's no need. The comprehension this time is enough to let him know what's a setback. Patriarch's idea was to wait until he couldn't leave this place, and we will then give him a teleportation flag. Heavenly King Sha smiled and said, every action from Patriarch has its in-depth meaning. Both of you definitely know how hard it was to master the teleportation divine art, so what's the point of Patriarch making him stay here to learn the teleportation divine art? Heavenly King Lu and Heavenly King Yu's eyes lighted up and they clapped their hands in exclamation. Even though the teleportation divine art was in Hall of Floating Light and didn't prohibit disciples to comprehend it, there were not many people who were able to learn the teleportation divine art. Every hall master in the sacred cult had a teleportation flag, but these flags weren't made by those hall masters personally and were actually spirit weapons made by the 4 cult heavenly kings. There are not many people in the entire heavenly devil cult who could master the art of teleportation and refine it into a treasure. Even the previous generation saintess, Sai Yu, also couldn't master it. She didn't have very high attainments in algebra. Patriarch's idea was to let Qin Mu go to Hall of Floating Light to learn the art of teleportation, and when Qin Mu discovered that the teleportation divine arts required an extremely high attainment in algebra, it would have already been over 10 days. Then after 10 days or more, Qin Mu would realize he couldn't cultivate this divine art and could only refine the treasure of teleportation. After another 10 or more days, Qin Mu would then discover that he couldn't even refine out the treasure. If this happened, the naughty and mischievous temper of this young sacred cult master could be grinded, making him know the immensity of heaven and earth. He would then learn not to perpetrate outrages and have an exaggerated opinion of his own abilities. When that time came, Qin Mu would calm his heart down and comprehend the unity technique of heavenly saint cult. Then the 3 cult heavenly kings would appear and give this young cult master a teleportation flag, allowing the sacred cult master to leave Saint Arrival Mountain successful to everyone's delight and satisfaction. This was the deep intention of why Patriarch had made Qin Mu remain on the mountain to comprehend the teleportation divine art. Heavenly King Yu had a grave expression. What exactly happened to Heavenly King Qian? Have any of you received any news? Heavenly King Sha and Heavenly King Yu shook their heads. Heavenly King Sha said, Senior Brother Qian has most likely come to misfortune already. He is always the most enthusiastic, yet he is still yet here. I reckon the enemies must have made a move on him to find out the location of our headquarters, to investigate who is the new cult master. With his temper, he will definitely not say it out. Heavenly King Lu's heart leaped. Senior Brother Qian has such a high cultivation. No matter how high his cultivation is, there's always someone higher than him. Heavenly King Sha said solemnly, the first-ranking high officials of the imperial courts are all cult master-level existences. Dao sect, Great Thunderclap Monastery have no lack of such top practitioners. Other sects and families also have hidden experts that are fixing their gaze on our Heavenly Saint cult. Many of them had thought our Heavenly Saint cult had declined after 40 years, so who doesn't want to take this opportunity to take a bite out of us? The crucial point is, who's the enemy? Everyone fell silent. After a moment, Heavenly King Yu said, this time the cult master had ordered the left and right guardian to establish the 360th hall, school hall. This is a big matter. The capability of this cult master is a level higher than Cult Master Li. This kind of vision and boldness doesn't seem like what a kid just over 10 years old should have. He seems to have more experience than an old man that had lived for over a few hundred years. It's most likely Patriarch guiding him. It's possible, the sacred cult master is out. The three heavenly kings looked towards Hall of Floating Light and saw Qin Mu walking out. Opening wide the brocaded gown which he wore on the outside, this young sacred cult master suddenly covered the brocaded gown over his body and vanished with a poof. The heavenly kings were stunned and only heard a loud crash. Half of the pavilion of Phoenix Arrival had collapsed. Not good. The three heavenly kings' hearts leaped, and they immediately looked towards Pavilion of Phoenix Arrival. Under the debris of the half-collapsed Pavilion of Phoenix Arrival, the youth stood up and looked around. He felt no one had seen him and immediately raised his clothes over his body, disappearing once again. Pavilion of Phoenix Arrival is where the 6th generation cult master received the phoenix. For a phoenix to descend on our Saint Arrival mountain, how glorious was that? Heavenly King Yu's calves and stomach trembled as he muttered, now it's half collapsed, how are we going to answer to our ancestors and our disciples? Heavenly King Sha also had a change in expression as he muttered to himself irresolutely, there is only one record of the phoenix resting on the parasol tree written by the 6th generation cult master. It's only a biography and not a technique. I had long memorized records of the phoenix resting on the parasol tree by heart. Let's repair the Pavilion of Phoenix Arrival and find the book hall master to imitate the handwriting of the 6th generation cult master and fill in the rest of the writing. I'll assure no one will be able to see a thing. The sacred cult master seemed to have refined a teleportation clothing, although he's not familiar with controlling it. Heavenly King Lu was astonished, he actually managed to create a treasure of teleportation, how is that possible? At this moment, there was another loud boom and the three heavenly king immediately looked towards the source of the voice, their faces turning black. The roof of Hall of Three Kings had collapsed. Their young cult master had yet controlled the teleportation clothing and had teleported above Hall of Three Kings, crashing through its roof and creating a huge hole. Hall of Three Kings was a great hall constructed to commemorate three sacred cult masters. These three sacred cult masters had lived in the same generation, and at that time, the fights between sects were very bitter. Dao sect had gathered all the righteous sects in the world, as their leader, to attack Heavenly Devil cult. Back then, the old cult master died in a battle and handed the cult over to Heavenly King Qing of the 4 cult Heavenly Kings before he died. Heavenly King Qing then imparted great educational Heavenly Devil scriptures to the saintess back then before leading everyone to battle, fighting to the death in Jade Ripple Pool. After the saintess had inherited the cult master's position, she once again went out to battle and slaughtered Dao sect until they couldn't withstand it anymore, having no choice but to retreat. When the saintess returned to Saint Arrival Mountain, she imparted the techniques before allowing her injuries to break out, dying in a seated posture. Therefore, the next sacred cult master constructed Hall of Three Kings to commemorate them. When Qin Mu had failed his teleportation earlier and destroyed Pavilion of Phoenix Arrival, it was still fine, but now he had smashed Hall of Three Kings, that was a little overboard. Suddenly another whoosh was heard as Qin Mu covered himself with his clothes and vanished. The three heavenly kings jumped in shock and immediately chased over. Sacred Cult Master, little devil. You can't tear down anymore. The three heavenly kings' cultivations were dense and had also cultivated the art of teleportation. Heavenly King Shi's treasure of teleportation was a flag which teleported him away with the unfurl of a flag. Heavenly King Lu had cultivated a mirror which would teleport him away when he pointed it at himself. Heavenly King Yu had created a jade pendant which he wore on his waist. With a gently pat, the jade pendant's glow would burst forth and bring him away. The three of them had dabbled into the art of teleportation for a long time, and even though they were unable to cultivate teleportation divine art, it was much easier and nimble for them to control their treasures of teleportation than this newbie. The three heavenly kings were proficient in their technique and could see where Qin Mu was about to teleport to, so they immediately headed there to intercept. Yet they were still an instant slower and pounced into empty air, falling into fish observation pond together. The few fish dragons in the pond were ferocious, and when Qin Mu had just fallen into fish observation pond, these fish dragons opened up their huge mouths yet in vain. Then the three heavenly kings teleported in just right as appetizers. The bodies of the three heavenly kings vanished once again to make the few huge fish bite into the empty air, shooting out sparks from their razor-sharp teeth colliding with each other. The few huge fish shook their heads and swam away resentfully. The bodies of the three heavenly kings appeared in mid-air and they stretched their hands to grab Qin Mu, who was raising his brocaded clothes. Just as the three hands grabbed tightly, Qin Mu was one step faster than them and they could only grab his afterimage. Before Patriarch left, he had warned us about the young cult master's strange hobby of tearing things down, if we couldn't catch him. The three of them activated their treasures of teleportation once again and heard three thuds as everything turned black before their eyes. Their bodies were tightly restrained and they immediately realized something was wrong. They hurried to tremble their vital chi and shattered the thing that was surrounding them and realized that they had teleported themselves into the trunks of the trees while following Qin Mu. "Where's the sacred cult master?" Heavenly King Shi asked. Just as he said it, they found Qin Mu's head popping out from a huge tree which could only be hugged with two people. His body was stuck in the trunk of the tree and he couldn't get himself free. That tree was a sago palm and its quality was even harder than metal. Heavenly King Lu had a bad temper and shouted, "Cult Master, why aren't you running anymore? Three heavenly kings, all of you are still here." Qin Mu replied shamefully, "My vital chi is depleted and I'm trapped in this sago palm, unable to lift my clothing. Three heavenly kings, please help me." The three heavenly king didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Heavenly King should chop down the sago palm and rescue Qin Mu out. "Cult Master, you are the sacred cult master of our sacred cult and have a high position after all. You can't fool around on this Saint Arrival Mountain. The constructions on Saint Arrival Mountain are all places of historic interest and have their own meanings." Heavenly King Lu said, "Cult Master, you aren't a child." When he said so, he felt something wasn't right. Isn't this sacred cult master just a child? Qin Mu was not yet 15 years old and several times younger than them. Heavenly King Lu muttered, "When I was sacred cult master's age, I played all day in mud. No, I already helped with the rice harvest. However, sacred cult master, the art of teleportation is very dangerous and if you aren't careful, you can teleport into a restricted area and when that happens, even gods can't save you. There are still quite some restricted areas on our Saint Arrival Mountain." Qin Mu felt a bone-chilling cold. If he was to teleport to a restricted area, he would have died miserably. "Cult Master, the treasure of teleportation requires you to determine the position, and the crucial point is how to confirm the location of the transfer." The three heavenly kings looked at one another in the eyes and suppressed the astonishment in their hearts. "Cult Master, you have refined the teleportation clothing and yet master how to determine the teleport location. This is very dangerous. For teleportation, you must first determine where you are and determine where you want to go. When you're about to reach the place, you must retract your vital chi back immediately or else you will crash into something. When you try it for the first time, don't teleport too far and try somewhere nearer. Teleporting nearer makes it more convenient for you to stop as and when you like." Qin Mu's eyes lighted up. "Let me try again." Anxious expressions immediately spread throughout the three Heavenly Kings' faces. Heavenly King Yu hurriedly said, "Cult Master, your vital chi is depleted and there's no need to for you be impatient. Furthermore, the reason why Patriarch left you here was not to let you study the teleportation divine art. He wanted to calm your heart down to comprehend unity technique. Saint Arrival Mountain is very serene and there are no noises from the outside world. If you leave here, you would probably take 1 to 2 years to completely comprehend unity technique." Qin Mu's heart was enlightened. There was indeed a meaning to why Patriarch had left him behind. He had been thinking of refining a teleportation clothing for the past 2 days to leave this place and had yet thought of Patriarch's intention. "I was too impatient to succeed." Qin Mu expressed his thanks calmly. "Thank you, Heavenly Kings, for showing me the right path. We don't deserve it." The three Heavenly Kings immediately returned his greeting solemnly. Heavenly King Sha said, "Cult Master has outstanding wisdom and will definitely have a great gain by staying here for a few more days." Qin Mu calmed his heart down and walked towards the pine cypress. He sat on the rock and diligently comprehended the scriptures the woodcutter had passed on to him. The three Heavenly Kings let out sighs of relief and Heavenly King Sha muttered, "Patriarch left Cult Master on Saint Arrival Mountain wanting to grind his temperament. Cult Master's temper is indeed naughty and mischievous and Patriarch must not have expected Cult Master to cultivate the teleportation method to such an extent with such a fast speed, am I right?" The other two Heavenly Kings had a weird expression. The young Patriarch's idea may be good, but who would have thought that straight after he had left, Qin Mu had realized that it was impossible for him to cultivate the teleportation divine art now and had to be proficient in algebra. And what was more, Qin Mu realized immediately that he could refine a treasure of teleportation first. It was only the second day and he had already come out with a teleportation clothing to teleport here and there, tormenting the three Heavenly Kings. Heavenly King Lu shook his head. How wise is Patriarch? How could he not think of it? He must have expected it, therefore, he had let the three of us guard this place. After a moment, the three Heavenly Kings sighed in unison. Patriarch definitely didn't expect so. The three Heavenly Kings started to fret and grow apprehensive. This sacred cult master was utterly mischievous, yet he was so intelligent. It was pretty impossible for them to chasten his temper. With the speed of Qin Mu, he just needed to practice a few more times and he could master the technique. When that time came, how could they make him stay to chasten his mischievous temper? After a moment, Heavenly King Yu smiled. "We seem to be wasting our time on an insoluble problem." The other two Heavenly Kings looked at him and gave him a look of inquiry. Heavenly King Yu smiled and said, "Sacred Cult Master is so clever, so let him play crazily if he likes to play crazily. Since he has a mischievous temper, let him be mischievous. He is the Cult Master after all. Let us not care about the rest and just care about cleaning up his mess. To clean up his mess nicely is what we should do." Heavenly King Sha said, "That's the only thing we can do. Be that as it may, if the Cult Master continues to play around crazily, I feel it's still better for him to leave Saint Arrival Mountain earlier and let him return to torment Imperial College." The three elders came to Pavilion of Phoenix Arrival and became masons to repair Pavilion of Phoenix Arrival. They then went to Hall of Three Kings to repair the roof. Heavenly King Lu went for a long trip and brought the Hall Master back after 2 days to get him to forge records of the Phoenix resting on the parasol tree on the walls of Hall of Phoenix Arrival. After everything was settled, the three Heavenly Kings let out sighs of relief and looked at one another in the eyes. The sacred cult master's perception through meditation this time could at least let us relax for half a year, am I right? With the degree of the sacred cult master's monstrosity, hard. Under the cypress pine, Qin Mu had been sitting on Saint's Rock for a few days. When he was thirsty or tired, the little fox would come running over and plucked a bunch of fruit from somewhere he didn't know. Qin Mu and Hu Linga would then eat the fruits together. Qin Mu comprehended for over 10 days and experienced the woodcutter's lecture for over 10 times, yet he always felt it was hard for him to comprehend unity technique, thus he gradually got impatient. Let's not eat fruits today. I've been eating fruits every day and my mouth feels bland. Qin Mu stood up from Saint's Rock and asked Hu Linga, "We'll eat meat today. Linga, is there any things to eat in the mountains?" Hu Linga cheered, "There are musk deer in the mountain." I saw a herd of musk deer and wanted to lay my paws on it, but this is Saint Arrival Mountain, so I didn't dare to meddle around. Qin Mu was excited and said, "Let's hunt one." Not long later, a human and a fox were roasting the meat of musk deer. Hulinga took out some salt from her own little backpack and sprinkled it over the meat, making it fragrant and appetizing. They were simply starved and they devoured the musk deer cleanly. Hulinga laid on her back while rubbing her bulging tummy, full of satisfaction. Qin Mu was also stuffed and he stood up to walk a step or two, executing his Overlord Body 3 elixir technique to speed up his digestion. His footsteps grew faster and faster as he started to cultivate the way he had cultivated in disabled elderly village unknowingly. Suddenly he executed Thunderclap 8 strikes and every punch and palm exploded the air, causing thunder to resonate out. With his fist as a hammer, he executed Mute's hammer skills to smash down on the air that was like a huge drum. He, on the other hand, was like a giant beating onto the drum, shaking the trees in the foresting from the dull booms. Qin Mu's move changed again as he executed his leg skills before changing it into spear skills, sword skills, then knife skills. The speed of his sprint grew even faster and he actually gathered his vital chi into a brush to paint in the air, abandoning all restraint to his heart's content. Suddenly he executed Secrets of Moving Rain, and the rain was like swords and strings, mixing the sounds of strings among the sound of rain. He then changed to Secrets of Rolling Thunder and Flames, which rumbled with thunder and balls of flame exploding in all directions. Another ball of flames gradually rose into the sky and turned redder and redder as though it was a setting sun. The flaming sword chi shot off in all directions as he executed Sunset Sword skill. His vital chi then changed and he turned into a sprinting white tiger which split rocks with his claws. He then executed the 7 writings of creation. Spirit creation technique to change his form, Heavenly God creation technique to change his technique, Heavenly Devil creation technique to change his appearance, Human King creation technique to change into dragon, Ghost creation technique to change his soul, Earth Eon creation technique to change his spirit, and Pre-Celestial creation technique to change his neonate. He then executed all kinds of spells, fist skills, sword skills, and knife skills in great educational Heavenly Devil scriptures. Unknowingly, he had sunk into a marvelous state where the woodcutter's voice sounded on and off in his mind. Sometimes it was deep and low, sometimes it was loud and clear, and sometimes it was muffled. All kinds of mysteries flooded his mind again and again, filling up his mind before flowing out from his hand to become marvelous moves. There was only delight in his heart as he unleashed to his heart's content. No matter what spell, divine art or sword skill, he just unleashed them all regardless of their order. He only felt his heart becoming deranged. If the technique of great educational Heavenly Devil scriptures didn't flow, therefore he changed it. If the circulation of Overlord Body 3 elixir technique was rough, he would go with the flow and adjust the direction of the vital chi circulation. To act straightforwardly, to follow the course of nature, that's the meaning of path. At this moment, he finally had understood this sentence deeply. No matter what his predecessor had left behind, no matter what great educational Heavenly Devil scriptures or Overlord Body 3 elixir technique was, he would just let the vital chi circulate with the flow, executing all kinds of moves and divine arts. Circulating his boundless vital chi, however, no matter if it was to the standard or not. The more it was like this, the marvel of Woodcutter's lecture on the rock allowed him to understand even more and comprehend even more marvels. The 3 heavenly kings were also astonished and immediately came out to have a look, only to see sparks shining out in the forest of Saint Arrival Mountain from time to time. The rumbles of thunder sounded while the ground rolled over and over. As the air vibrated with the knife lights and sword shadows, the forest collapsed in pieces. The 3 heavenly kings' expression changed hugely and Heavenly King Sha suddenly shouted, "This is bad, the sacred cult master is sprinting towards the sacred tree." The elders immediately rose into the air and landed in front of the cypress pine only to see Qin Mu unleashing all kinds of moves and divine arts to his heart's content as if he had gone crazy. His vital chi even showed apparitions of all kinds of gods and devils. No matter if it was the righteous path, devil path or Buddhism path, he just executed all of it. No matter if it was the divine arts unique to White Tiger spirit body, the defensive methods unique to Black Tortoise spirit body, the tempest of Green Dragon spirit body or the true fire of Vermilion Bird spirit body, They were all executed in his hand to his heart's content, making the three-cult Heavenly King flabbergasted. Unity technique. Heavenly King Sha muttered, "He has comprehended it, he has comprehended it." This video will end here.